Hey team, hope you're all doing well. Today's topic, I want to go over how do you run a sub 80 half marathon. And obviously running under 1 hour and 20 minutes for the half marathon, you have to be in extreme shape. There's no doubt about it. And it's not, the faster we run in these distances, whether you're trying to run a 5-minute mile or you're trying to break an 8-minute mile or you're trying to break an hour and 20 minutes for the half marathon, the faster we go and the faster we're aiming, the more is going to be required out of you. And few athletes around the world are running under the 1 hour and 20-minute barrier each year. And you have to make sure that you're not only consistent with your mileage, but making sure that you're running a higher percentage of that volume that you're doing each week at a higher percentage of your max heart rate. Now, a half marathon in under 1 hour and 20 minutes comes out to 6:06 per mile, or 3 minutes and 47 seconds per kilometer. So you're running 21.1 kilometers at 3:47, or 6:06 per mile, 13.1 miles. So you do have to get accustomed to doing faster training that is significantly faster than goal half marathon race pace. The optimal time frame, in my opinion, for a half marathon, if you want to do this right, is a minimum of 12 weeks and preferably 16 up to 20 weeks in length. Types of training sessions I would advise athletes that are trying to break the hour and 20-minute marathon barrier is get to a point where you can do repeat 1600s on the track, anywhere from around 540 to 545 per rep. Okay, once you're, and again, it's going to take some time. You may need to start off doing your reps at, say, 6 minutes per rep and giving yourself 3 minutes of recovery after each one of your 1600 meter repetitions on the track, or every 4-lap rep. And as you get fitter and you're further along in your training, midway through a training build-up for athletes that are trying to break that hour and 20-minute half marathon barrier, once you can get to a point where you can do 5 to 6 1600 meter reps at, say, around 533 to 540 per rep, around that range, and you're, instead of giving yourself a 3-minute recovery like you were at the very beginning of your build-up, you're giving yourself 45 seconds to 60 seconds rest between each one of those reps. Obviously, these types of workouts are going to tell you if you're ready to break the hour and 20-minute half marathon barrier or not. Okay, and I know right now, running at this pace for 13.1 miles or 21.1 kilometers might seem impossible for you, or maybe you're at 145 right now, or maybe you're at 135 or 140. You're in that range, but you see like 119.59 is just is really almost seems impossible. It's more of a psychological barrier, especially once you get to a point where you're really doing the types of workouts that are really going to set you up for success. Like if you can get to a point where you're doing a 10-mile run, tempo run, or a 16-kilometer tempo run at around 620 per mile pace, or maybe around 355 to 357 kilometer pace, or around that range, that is going to build an enormous amount of psychological and physical strength that you're going to need in order to break the hour and 20-minute half marathon barrier. Obviously, you have to make sure that you're pacing properly. Do your best to run the first 6.5 miles of this race slower than you run the last 6.5 plus miles of the race. Okay, a negative split will always help you psychologically because you're speeding up or you're maintaining the pace when other athletes or competition's slowing down that went out way too fast. So I really think it's important that you focus on your energy expenditure in the race and you're pacing yourself properly. Make sure that you're also paying attention to your hydration in training. During those long runs, my advice is to first get to a point, be gradual with your build-up. Like a long run at the very beginning might be a 6 to 7 mile long run. Okay, but once you're midway through a build-up and you're really been consistent with your mileage, you want to get to a point where you can do that long run, get that long run out further than the distance you're planning on racing. Okay, maybe 17 to 18 miles in length. Okay, that is going to help you much more, obviously, because you've not only done your long runs further than you're planning on racing, but you spent some time during those long runs running at paces that are closer down toward your 5K and 10K race pace. That again is going to make that goal half marathon pace you're aiming for, in this case 6:06 mile pace or 3:47 kilometer pace, that's going to make that pace feel that much easier for you. Okay, the most important thing, strategy and just advice from myself somebody that's run 107.06 for the half marathon and a 219 marathon, is just to believe in what you're doing and maintain your enthusiasm for what you're doing. This is not going to be an easy process. A time of 1:19:59 for the half is by no means slow. You're really going to have to believe in what you're doing, and it's either you want to be lukewarm in the sport, you want to be average, or do you want to be great? Okay, greatness is going to require much more out of you than average. Okay, it doesn't take that much effort to go out and run a few miles every single day, but it does take a great amount of endurance, patience, time, and energy to be going out there running 50 miles to 70 miles a week on a consistent basis, but you're also running around 30 to 40% of that weekly mileage that you're doing at a much more aggressive pace. Okay, so get beyond just running long, slow, easy long runs and running too much of your weekly mileage too easily. That's one of the major reasons that a lot of athletes have problems breaking this hour and 20-minute half marathon barrier. Obviously, there's other issues. Athletes that are trying to run a time this fast go out way too aggressive in the early miles and early kilometers of the race. And because of that, they go into oxygen debt. They're forced to slow down. And obviously, they finish with a time that's way beyond what they're capable of. So I want you thinking about the types of workouts you really need to be doing. Like I said, if you're training for a half marathon, my advice and what helped me get down to 107.06 was extending the duration of my tempo runs. I would get those tempo runs out to around 8 to 10 miles in length, and that helped a great deal. Obviously, I was personally running a large portion of my speed training workouts well below 5-minute mile pace. That helped me to hold 5:07 mile pace for 13.1 miles and end up 5:19 mile pace for 26.2 miles. So you have to train at significantly faster than goal race pace at least once per week. Okay, an example of that is VO2 max training. Okay, when you're running at VO2 max, you're running anywhere from 95 to 100% of your max heart rate. So examples, repeat 200s, repeat 300s, repeat 400s on the track when you're running down toward your 5K race pace. That, again, you're building up an enormous amount of lactic acid buildup, and you do want to spend time training at that intensity. And granted, we're only going to be able to spend a few seconds to a few minutes at that intensity. But if you do this consistently, you stay consistent. One VO2 max workout per week, one tempo run per week, one long run per week, and you're jogging on your recovery days, okay, get beyond what pace per mile or pace per kilometer you're running on your easy days. Your easy days should be that, exactly that, easy, relaxed, chilled out, just jogging, okay? Your focus needs to be on the intense days where you're really going to get the most benefit. Okay, if you have that discipline to run fast, you have to make sure you have the same amount of discipline to slow down on your easy days, so that, again, all that hard anaerobic workouts you're doing, you're going to be adapted to them. And once you go down to taper, you're going to have a much higher chance of breaking the hour and 20-minute half marathon barrier. Do a 10-day taper. If you're used to doing 3 weeks taper, consider doing a 10-day taper. Okay, you don't start dropping your volume and intensity until 10 days out from the race. I promise you, 10 days is plenty of time to recover from the several months of buildup leading into your half marathon. Okay, the hardest part about tapering is the fact that we've spent so many weeks and months training for our races that we feel like we're getting out of shape when we drop our volume. Okay, you're not getting out of shape. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Do a 10-day taper. Make sure you're paying attention to your nutrition, your sleep, your hydration, all the other things that go into it, mental practice, mental rehearsal, seeing yourself getting across the finish line with 1:19:59 on the clock. These things will set you up for success. So I hope this is helpful for you. Leave a comment below, like and share these videos. If there's anything else I can help you all out with in your training, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I will definitely respond back to you, and I will talk to you all in the next video.